Hello family, I'm super excited to be back here again. You're welcome to today's episode on One-on-One Show with Dr. Paakwesi, the African philosopher. My name is Jennifer Yara and I'm here with Dr. Paakwesi, the African philosopher. Today's topic is all about symbols and its meaning. But before I proceed, let me ask this simple question. Did you know that all the astrological symbols in this world have a very special meaning? I guess you don't know too. Just relax. Today's episode got you. Comment, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Without wasting much time, let me welcome Dr. Paakwesi, the African philosopher, on today's episode. Dr. Paakwesi, the African philosopher, you are welcome to today's episode.
Thank you, my dear.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great by the grace of my living God. I'm so fine. What about you?
I'm fine, thank you. Today's topic is all about signs, symbols, and its meanings. But then we are limiting them to the planetary symbols.
Okay.
So, but before we proceed, let me just ask you, what would you like to say about symbols and its meanings, or signs and its meanings?
Okay. Thank you so much. In the first place, I thank my living God for the life He has given to me.
Okay.
I have the strength, and blood is moving up and down in my veins, arteries, and capillaries. It is not by might, it is not by power, but everything that works inside me right now is as a result of His own grace, for which reason I'm alive. So I thank Him. Afful,
Amen.
When we say symbols are simply some marks or some designs which we use to represent something in nature.
Okay.
In nature as in a character, in nature as in time.
Okay.
They can also be used to represent the properties or the qualities of something. Our ancients were able to derive symbols from the signs they saw of the things they experienced in nature.
Okay.
When we say signs simply means that something natural, like an animal, like a tree, like a stone, weather, time, all these things are signs. But in order for us to remember some of its qualities and how they operate, the ancients represented these signs with symbols for us to be able to communicate it well. Before you'll be able to communicate something well, unless you remember that thing.
Okay.
So these symbols are used to represent these signs in nature for us to be able to communicate it well. It serves as, it gives it an identity, that sign and identity, for the symbol to become part and parcel of our everyday life in our various cultures, in our various religions, etc. That's it.
Okay, so on the very first planet, that's the sun, the symbol is a circle with a dot inside. A circle, just a circle with a dot inside. Does it have a meaning? I know it has.
Yes.
So we are going to explain it one after the other. So let's start from the sun.
We call it glyph.
Okay.
Or glyph.
Okay.
Have you heard of this word before? Hieroglyphics.
Yes, I think I've heard it before.
Egypt. When you hear the word hiero, Hierro, it means priest.
Priest. Chief priest.
Priest.
Okay.
So Hierro, it means priest.
Okay.
A religious man who is an adept.
Okay.
who is well experienced in the fields of occultism and mysticism, or esotericism in general,
Okay.
who has the ability to communicate some symbols to us
Okay.
based on the signs that he experiences from nature. That is through two ways. One,
Okay.
conception, and two, what is known as sensory perception.
Okay. Like the sense you are sensing something, or is
Yes,
it the sensory
sensory, yes.
neurons you are
Yes.
talking about?
When we use the word perception.
Okay.
Perception is something we experience from the outside world.
Yes.
But there are instruments or elements that come together to make these experiences possible,
Okay.
external experiences possible.
Okay.
They are known as our senses.
Okay.
Our senses are those peripheral nervous systems that are attached to the central nervous system. It is distributed in every part of our bodies.
Okay.
That makes it possible for observation through our eyes, our ears, our nostrils, our tongue. All these areas have their own nerves.
Okay.
So these nerves are all connected to the brain and the spinal column, which we call the central nervous system. So if I use the word sensory, it means that these nerves, through the neurotransmitters,
Okay.
make them possible. An example of neurotransmitters are norepinephrine. We have the GABA.
Okay.
We have the dopamine, etc.
Okay.
So our ancients were able to look at signs and omens and made symbols for them, for us to be able to mark them or to remember them anytime we try to communicate them to the other person. So the word hiero, as I made mention of in the first place, represent a priest. When you look at the tarot cards, you can see the feet in position, but it is the seat card. It is known as the Hierophant.
Yeah, the tarot cards.
Thank
yes.
you. The man is a priest
Yes.
with two slaves that are bowing before him. That man represents group identity. It represents religion, and it also represents culture.
Okay. Is it the man who is dressed as a king?
Yes.
Okay.
It's known as Hierophant, someone who is able to interpret spiritual messages for all the sundry to understand.
Okay.
Perception simply means that receiving information through any of these five senses. When they enter the human mind or the brain, we are able to organize them, identify, and interpret. Organization, identification, and interpretation is known as perception.
Okay.
Hiero means the priest, but glyph means that different shapes or marks or compartments or structures that have been put together to make a symbol. So hieroglyphic or hieroglyphics means that those ancient priests who were known as adepts were able to use birds, some humans, and some objects, put them together, and sometimes even made them separate from one another and use them to represent their alphabets. So if you look at the Egyptian alphabet, they are not as raw as that of the Greeks, which we have used up to today. We have the A, we have the B, we have the C to Z. And the alphabet of other languages, we have the Akan, we have the O, we have the E. All these things are known as glyphs. They are symbols. They can be put together, or you can separate them, having given it specific identities for us to be able to know how to represent them in nature. Yes. So when we come to the astrological symbols, what are some of the glyphs or the various elements that come together to form what is known as symbols? Example, we have the O we see in Akan.
Yes.
We have a circle, because when you are writing ABC, you write O. We have half circle like the O.
Yes.
We attach that O to a vertical line, it becomes P, the letter P.
Yes.
When you make the O double and attaches it to a vertical line, it becomes B.
Capital B.
Thank you. And we have the C. We have E, etc. These glyphs have meanings, but the meanings must become so rational that directions, positions, and degree of that glyph must have its own meaning.
Okay.
Not just any glyph, you can write anything and go away.
Okay.
No. As I am explicating what you have asked right now, you'll be able to see clearly why the planet Jupiter has the semicircle on top, and it has the plus, or a vertical and a horizontal line crossing each other, and where this semicircle attaches itself to this plus.
Okay.
And it will make the meaning of Jupiter possible. Why Saturn has a plus and it has a semicircle beneath or below, it's attached to the vertical and horizontal line crossed.
Okay. Doctor, for simple understanding, when we talk of degree, what do you mean by degree? Is it the hotness and coldness of something?
No.
As we know.
I'm not talking about temperature. I'm talking as in position.
Okay.
Position. Temperature, we can use glyphs to represent temperature.
Okay.
But here I'm talking about the upward or the downward position of that glyph when it is attached to another.
Okay.
As I explain, you'll be able to understand fully.
Okay.
So let me answer that of the sun.
Okay.
When you see a dot, many books have said that the dot has no meaning, but esoterically, the dot has meaning.
Okay.
And it is considered by me, example, as a glyph. The dot represents the single pointed consciousness.
The full stop.
The full stop.
Okay.
Everything you see around you, the vast universe with the galaxies and other things you see around you,
Okay.
came from a single pointed consciousness. We call it singularity.
Singularity.
The universe itself is vibrating.
Okay.
So it is a sound. So we call it sing.
Okay.
So singular came from the word sing. Single, the universe is singing. We call it vibration or sound.
Okay.
When you see the dot, it represents that consciousness, the God particle, the subatomic particle that came out of darkness. We call it prana or chi or life force that came out of the darkness, that is space.
That dot.
That dot.
That small dot.
That dot.
Okay.
So when you see a circle, the circle represents space.
Okay.
We call it the cosmic root substance.
Cosmic.
A substance without form.
Okay.
It is limitless. It is eternal and it is infinite. But that single pointed consciousness, light, came out of the dark. So when you see a circle, it means that space, we call it Akasha in Hinduism.
Akasha.
Akasha, it's not Akasha, which we used to wash our bathrooms, etc.
I was just about to say that.
No, so Akasha. So Akasha means space. It represents the female principle.
Okay.
And it is represented by a circle, an empty circle.
Okay.
But if the dot comes in the middle,
It's
it
the
becomes two forces of light and darkness. That is, the light represents the dot, the consciousness, and the whole space represents space, that is darkness. The female principle, yin and yang, in Chinese mythology or esotericism. When you see a circle with dot in the middle, it means that the consciousness has become a force that is part and parcel of the control of time. Time is a cycle.
Okay.
Everything ends and it begins again. Anything that has a beginning, but that has no end, is known as infinity.
Okay.
But something that has no beginning and it has no end is known as eternity.
It has no beginning.
And it has no end.
It's eternity.
Eternity.
And something that has a beginning
But
but
has
no
end.
end.
It's known as infinity.
Oh, okay. I'm not getting the difference.
So when you see the circle with the dot in the middle, in astrology it represents the sun.
Okay.
But it represents the spirit. Home in a can.
Okay.
The spirit. Anywhere you see the circle, it represents spirit.
Okay.
Some glyphs omit the dot, yet we consider it as the spirit. It represents the individual. two forces coming together to create the spirit or the individual, air and fire. So the circle represents the great spirit. It represents the individual.
Okay.
Two forces of the mental, and the other is spiritual. Together they create the circle. When you clean half of the circle, a semicircle is left. That is or C, something like that. It's left. I'm using C because I'm not contradicting myself when I made mention of the word degree and the position. Because all faces the left side, like the waxing moon. And C faces the left side, the right side, that is the westward position, representing the waning crescent moon. But here I'm talking general, so I'm not contradicting myself, as the logicians will say. I will use C or O to make it simple for the lay person to understand. That's why I'm using this word. When you clean half of the circle, it becomes half a circle or a semicircle. Semi means half. So a half circle. The half circle doesn't mean we have the spirit completely, but the half of the circle means the soul or kra. Soul, the emotional, the one with imaginative qualities, the one with attachment, feelings, pain, emotions.
So it's not half spirits.
It's not half spirits. It is the soul. So the symbol of the soul in astrology is half or the semicircle.
Or C.
Or C, thank you. Or generally. But the full circle represents the spirit.
The spirit.
So the half circle or semicircle represents the soul. In other words, it is also known as the personality. Putting two things or bringing two things together, earth and water. They are the inferior elements. They are known as personality or personal symbol. We have the vertical line and a horizontal line. The vertical line represents the male principle. It represents inequality. One greater than the other. In astrology, the vertical line will represent the two positions, which I call the solstitial areas. Solstitial areas. Solstitial areas. The point where the solstice is, the summer solstice, where we have the longer day, shorter night, and we have the winter solstice. We have longer night and a shorter day. So the vertical line represents these two solstices, representing the beginning and the end of time. When it is 12 midnight, it represents the below of the vertical line. It represents the end of the PM. We are entering AM. So when it is 12 PM, it represents the end of AM, and we have started from PM. So the vertical line represents Osiris, according to Egyptian esotericism, the god, the father, the vertical line. It represents the three divisions of the vertical line. That is, according to alchemy, it represents sulfur, mercury, and salt. We have the horizontal line. Horizontal line represents the female principle, and the mother, known as Isis, whom you call the planet Venus. Yes. The horizontal line representing the female. When you cross the vertical and the horizontal line, they represent the material plane, which means that God the Father and God the Mother come together to create all things in our world.
That's the plus sign.
The plus sign. The plus sign represents the material plane. Sometimes it is not written as plus. Sometimes it is written as a vertical line with an arrow on top, like the chamber and hall.
A triangle.
Like this, yes. So if you bring the vertical line, you bring a triangle on top. It is also known as the material body, the material plane. And so these simple examples are what I will use in explaining the meaning of the planetary symbols. I will not go further in order to prevent the boggling understanding of the layperson outside there.
So the circle or the zero line is the spirit. the half
semicircle.
circle, that's the O or the C, is the soul.
The soul.
And the plus sign is the material plane. Okay, so that's what you're going to...
Yes. So the plus sign is the material body or the material plane.
Okay, okay, sure. So let's go to the next...
okay. Let me use...
planets.
Yeah, the planets.
Okay.
For example, when you see the circle,
Okay.
the circle represents the sun.
Yes.
The sun is the spirit.
Sure.
It represents the vital force, cosmic energy, the mind of God, which you see as the circle.
Okay.
The semicircle represents the soul. Mm-hmm. It is the moon. The moon represents the soul.
Okay.
Have you seen that we have seen signs in the heavens? For example, the moon changes its phases and positions.
Yes.
Sometimes it becomes full.
Yes.
Sometimes it becomes crescent, like this.
Yes.
When that crescent is facing, when the horns are facing the eastwards, it means that the moon is growing. Call it waxing crescent. Waxing means it is growing.
Okay.
When you see the horns facing westwards, it means that it is dying. You call it waning moon.
Okay.
Have you seen how our ancients used the semicircle to represent the shape of the moon? So that of the moon is the sign. Okay. And what we have made here is the symbol representing the sign above.
Okay. Okay.
So the moon represents the soul, and we use it to represent the semicircle.
Okay.
Now let's come to the planet Jupiter.
Jupiter.
Planet Jupiter, we call it the planet of expansion. How? Look at the glyph, or the glyph. A semicircle with a plus below. A semicircle with a plus below. But the plus is attached to the tip of the ending part of the semicircle.
Yes.
The plus represents the material plane, and the semicircle represents the soul world. Mm-hmm. When we come to our body, the semicircle represents the soul, and the plus below attached to the semicircle represents the material body. Mm-hmm. I was talking about the degree or the position of any of the glyphs having its own meaning.
Okay.
When you look at the symbol of the planet Jupiter, you can see that the semicircle representing the soul is above, and the plus attached to that semicircle is below. So the above has its own meaning, and the below has its own meaning. The above means that the soul has expanded, or expansion of the soul beyond the material body, whilst still the soul is attached to the material body. When we say expansion of the soul, it doesn't mean that the soul has separated itself from the material body. You are a living entity, okay, and you have a soul inside you. There are certain things that you do which the energies from the outside world will transmute or affect the properties of the material body and the soul inside. The way you lead your life determines the properties of your soul and the body. Whether you become coerced, grossed, or so dense, attached to the soul and preventing it from growing, or it becomes loose to the extent that the soul is able to expand itself within the material body. On the esoteric front, on the exoteric aspect, it opens doors, or it opens door for you to get anything that you need in your life. So the semicircle above plus below means expansion of the soul, okay, on the material plane or within the material body, but still attached to the material body. So it is explaining an incarnated soul. But the soul has expanded beyond the material body.
An incarnated soul.
There are souls that are not incarnated, means to live on a material plane.
Okay.
To be attached to some flesh, okay, and blood. The soul is living inside it. We call you an incarnation. Okay. But when we use the word dismembered soul, it means that the soul has no representation here on the material plane, leading the life. The soul is separate, living its life on the astral plane.
Okay. So what does this symbol, what effect does it have on the human or someone who I can refer to as a Jupiter person or having these Jupiter qualities?